Hey, it's Gabby continuing our virtual career day, our virtual career fair here on our website. And I'm here with Michael, who is a structural engineer. Now, I read a little bit about this and some of the information you had sent us before. You design bridges?
Design bridges, we inspect bridges, buildings, we design buildings. Structural engineering is actually a very broad field, and you usually find specialization, and so the discipline that I'm working in now is primarily focused on bridges. But for example, a lot of the extended stay America hotels that you see around the area, I designed the structure for those.
That's so cool.
So
there's so many different ways to go in engineering, civil engineering, and I always was curious what the difference was between civil and, because that's like roads and stuff, right?
Right.
Structural could be a number of things.
Well, and structural is actually a facet of civil engineering. I obtained dual degrees when I graduated college, one in architectural engineering and one in civil engineering.
Oh wow.
And so my emphasis in civil engineering was on structures. But you can also, with civil engineering, go to designing roadways, designing doing all the site work that has to be done, designing all of the infrastructure that goes in, the pipelines, the electrical, all of that. A lot of that all falls under civil engineering as well.
Very cool. So like basically what makes everything function, whether that be underground, behind your walls, right? That's really cool. So more into the bridges, I'm curious, do you ever have to go underwater?
I don't. But there is, for instance, one of the projects that I had, I was managing a team that inspected roughly 100-year-old pier with 18,000 piles. And they had to inspect each and every pile. And we had to, I got the unenviable job of sitting topside while it's frigid outside, sitting on a milk crate trying to write.
Yeah.
That
is so cool.
But so I don't have the scuba license and what it takes to go underneath, but I do work with people that do that sometimes.
Ever since I was a kid, we would cross a bridge and I would just wonder, how in the heck do these get built? Like, how do they exist? And so you're the guy. So what led you to this type of work?
Well, it's actually funny because my first love was actually architecture.
Okay.
And I got into an architectural engineering program. And I was actually a little bit into that before I realized I can't get an architect's license with an engineering degree. So I kind of just stuck with it.
Okay.
But a lot of the younger people that I interview, that I talk to, of course, one of the questions is, why do you want to be a structural engineer? Why do you want to be a bridge engineer? And a lot of times they just tend to have a passion for it. It might be something that has been in their family, maybe their father or their uncle or somebody was an engineer, but they tend to have a passion for it in some way. I've got a couple of young kids that are going to be coming on in this summer.
Cool.
And they're involved in bridge engineering projects in school.
That's awesome. And what college did you go to?
I went to Drexel University in Philadelphia.
Oh wow, that's where I grew up.
Okay.
Yep, pretty much right there. My brother had graduated with a degree in architecture, so I'm kind of understanding. He went more the design route, but yeah, very cool. So what would you say is the best part of your job?
So, it varies from job to job. I spent a while dealing with residential consumers, residential clients, people that are buying or selling a home, insurance agents, things like that. And I spent a good while just dealing with those people and helping them understand what kinds of problems they were having with their house, if they had a crack in the wall or sloping floors or something like that, or if a tree limb fell on their house. So I spent 6 years just doing that. And what I really loved about that was the personal interaction with people and the educational aspect of helping them understand, helping lay people understand a very technical subject.
Yeah, offering your expert advice for someone who may not understand.
Right.
I certainly don't. What would you say is the biggest challenge?
Probably the biggest challenge for me right now, I'm more on the project management side, and the biggest challenge for me right now is just simply we have a very small community. So when we get busy, it's just trying to make sure that we have people to staff that and finding the people that it takes to do that kind of work.
So you would say it's a great field to be going into?
It's a very good field to be going into. I mentioned earlier one of the things we do is bridge inspection.
Mm-hmm.
That's a federal mandate, and so that's something, it doesn't matter, pandemic or no pandemic, that stuff has to get done.
It's essential.
It's
The
essential.
work you do is essential.
It's considered essential, correct. And so, that work is always out there. It's always out there. It's not going away. The downside to that, of course, is, I have people that are out there on days like today and yesterday when it's really
Freezing
cold out,
yeah.
or 95 degrees out there. And I've been one of those people out there as well. Sometimes it's night work because you have to deal with traffic control and making sure, some of these larger roads like the highways, Beltway, 270, things like that, you can't shut those down during the day.
Right.
And so some of that work has to take place at night. So that's certainly a challenge, on the bridge inspection side of things.
So if someone is interested in entering the structural engineering field, how would they go about that?
Well, you certainly want to have a technical background and a very detailed oriented personality.
Mm-hmm.
The details count. Beyond that, you need to focus on classes, more technical classes, engineering, physics, your science classes, your math classes in high school, and then in college, of course. You pick a college that's known for its engineering program. Drexel Engineering was
right.
Drexel University was known and is known for its engineering program.
Yeah.
And so you want to pick a college that has a very good engineering program. Drexel in particular, I chose that because although their program is 5 years instead of 4, 3 of those years they have a cooperative education program where you're in school 6 months and working 6 months,
right,
as opposed to most other colleges where you just get summer internships.
Yeah, and you hope for the best when you graduate.
Right.
That
Right.
you can find a job.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, you basically graduated with 18 months of experience, and kind
Right.
of gives you a leg up on your competition.
Absolutely. Have you done any work locally, like any local bridges or?
I have, I may or may not have mentioned it to you. One of the bridges, there's a bridge right up here on Route 26, Israel Creek
Oh.
Bridge. I go over that almost every day.
That's very cool.
That was, the type of bridge that is, it's called a pre-stressed concrete bridge. That was the first one of that kind of bridge that I ever designed, and
That's
nobody
so
in my company had done it, and the books that I had were, and this was 30 years ago. The books that I had, or 20 years ago, and the books that I had were 30 years old then.
So
I was kind of learning my way through that, but
yeah.
but it's it's gratifying to go over it and see that it's still it's still 20 years after it's been built, it's still in good shape. You've got a very smooth transition from the roadway to the bridge, which means that things are doing what they're supposed to do.
Whenever I cross that bridge now, I'm gonna know and say, hey, I know that guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
And really, it's incredibly interesting. I don't think I could be an engineer, but I will definitely send people your way if they're interested.
Okay.
I really will.
I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Visit the rest of our videos on our website for the virtual career fair. You can find many others interesting, just like our engineer here.